How's it going? Today I'm going to show you how to build a biofilter clarifier. So before we get started, I'd like to lay out everything that I'm going to be using for the build. So that includes all of the parts, different sizes of fittings, PVC glue, and then all the tools that I'm going to be using. So we've got our drill, we've got our hole saws for the different holes that we're going to be drilling for uniseals and bolt heads, and then some pipe cutting tools. And then of course I drew a little design to make sure I have everything I need. And then we're going to use this garbage can to be our biofilter. So, all right, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is going to put in our standpipe in our biofilter, and this is going to serve as our overflow. So water is going to obviously drain by gravity, and we're going to use a 2-inch bulkhead. Now it says for a 2-inch bulkhead you should use a 2 7/8 inch hole saw. Those are really hard to find. So you could use a 3-inch hole saw, which works, or you can use a 2 3/4 inch hole saw, which is what we're going to use, and you just have to kind of wiggle the bulkhead to get it in. So go ahead and drill this guy, line up our bit. Oops, make sure it's on drill. Nice and easy. Got our hole there. We'll take our bulkhead here and then make sure that the rubber gasket is on the inside of the tank. So we got that. So this is kind of hard, so now you gotta me just kind of pushing it in, so you can see. Pull that up there, so now we got a nice little fit. We're gonna twist this guy on. And then tighten that as much as we can. And we'll finish that up and tighten that in a little bit, but you can see how the bulkhead's in there nice and snug. And then we've already cut our standpipe. It's 2-inch PVC. And so this basically fits right into that hole, and then that's going to be the height of the water that we're going to have in our biofilter. So, okay, so now we're going to put in, so like I said, this is a biofilter clarifier. So we're going to have both components. So we're going to have a clarifier, or a solid settling part, in the bottom of the filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 1.5 inch pipe. That's going to be our inlet. We're going to drill another hole for a uniseal, like right about here. It's about 8 inches off the bottom, and we're gonna put a uniseal, put a pipe through, and so this is gonna basically flow like a swirl filter kind of around, and then you're gonna get some solid settling on the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and drill that hole. So for a 1.5 inch uniseal, you'd use a 2.5 inch hole saw. So go ahead and get that. It's about, tape measure, let's just measure to, like I said, 8 inches off the ground, which is right about here. Nice. Okay, so now we've got our 1.5 inch uniseal. So fit that guy in there. Nice and snug. So we got our uniseal in there. See that? I flipped the uniseal around just so I can jam in the pipe on this side. It doesn't really matter, it's going to create a seal on either side. So to help me get that in there, I like to use Windex, but you can use soapy water. So I just spray that around there just to give it a little bit of lubrication. And then just kind of twist it. Get that in there. So now you can see right here. We got that, and we also have our 1.5 inch pipe, and so we're gonna fashion that. So there's our swirl right there. So we're gonna get water coming in here, and we're gonna get that swirling action that's gonna help settling solids. So we're gonna build our. This is gonna be our barrier that's gonna keep our clarifier separated from our biofilter. So we're just using some vinyl tubing. We're gonna use a coupler. We'll glue that, connect this, and then we've cut out this mesh we're gonna use zip ties and zip this all the way around. And then we're gonna set that in just on top, and then I'll put our media on top of there. All right, so real quick, I'm just gonna show you how we glue this. This should work pretty well because it is a plastic material. So we're just gonna use our cleaner, get that around the edges, cleaner around our coupler. Now this is a 3/4 inch coupler. And let's get some glue. Let's get that on there real nice. We'll do one side at a time. Get that nice and snug. All right, and then we'll do the other end. Get a lot of glue. A good seal, because it's not a perfectly tight fit, but if we get extra glue, it'll stick. All right, so that should solidify. We'll give it a couple minutes. And that's our nice little ring that we measured to fit inside of the filter. All right, so our bottom barrier sunk a little bit. It wasn't totally upright because the can kind of bowed out when we filled it with water. So we're actually going to put some legs on it, which came up with a pretty good idea. So we're going to use some PVC tees. These all primed, and we're going to put these on here. So, all right. No matter which way we want the tees facing. All right. Well, we're just going to get a ton of glue in here.
Making contact.
All right, so we got our little table. Now this should go sweet over the top. We're using a 3/4 inch ball valve, and then to put in a 3/4 inch uniseal, we're gonna use a 1 1/4 inch hole saw. So we'll just get that as close as we can to the bottom. It doesn't really matter where, although maybe you want it somewhere accessible. So if this was gonna be on the right side of your system, maybe good to have it on this side. If it's gonna be on the left, you might flip it around and have the drain over there. It's just all a matter of preference. But we'll just go ahead and get this in here. So we'll do it about 1 inch off the bottom, not even, as close as we can get it. So we'll go ahead and, all right, we got a hole there. We got our uniseal here. Go ahead and pop that guy in. So this is our drain here. And then, like I said again, we'll take our Windex, that's lubed up. Just kind of push and twist at the same time until it goes in. Now you see this? You got it in there on the bottom. We could also put a drain underneath, but it's just as easy to put it on the side. And we'll go ahead. We're not going to glue this right now. We could later if we wanted. We'll go ahead and stick our 3/4 inch ball valve on there. So now we've got our drain off valve, which we can open and close. We'll probably cut it shorter later, but that's the gist of it. $364, $365, $366, $367, $368. So we'll do this till we get to 1,000 bio balls. That's what the count we're looking for. I'm just kidding. Just put in as many as will fit. So we've filled up our biofilter with water just to show you kind of what it looks like. So these bio balls are just all kind of floating. So we'll run air stones down into there, which will help give oxygen to bacteria for nitrification and other mineralization. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a cover because we don't want our, when this is flowing over the standpipe, we don't want bioballs going into our sump or whatever the next component is. So I bought this 1/2-inch PVC coated wire mesh. So I'll just use this as a guide, and I'll use some wire snippers that I've got right here, and then I will actually just cut this out. So you start, and I'm just going along the edges. And you'll cut that all the way around into a complete circle. Aim that down. So now we've got like what would be 2 inches of water. So anything that's going to rise should be somewhat clarified by the time it goes down to the pipe. We shouldn't have any solids going into our sump from here. So now we're draining our system. So if we wanted to let out the solids that collected on the bottom, got a nice little drain hole. Close that back up, and there you have it. The last thing we're going to do for our system is we're just going to put a drain hole in the side, so if something happened, it backed up, overflowed, we can actually have a drain, so it's not overflowing the sides everywhere. And so we'll just do that right here. As far as to the top as we can, we'll just put a small 3/4 inch hole. All right, so that's basically going to serve to deliver overflow water. So there you have it. This is a biofilter clarifier. Let's see if we can get some air in here and show you how it looks. We've got a hose running to just show you what it's supposed to look like. We've got our air bubbling through our biofilter, and then we've got water flowing over the top of the standpipe. So that'll go back to our sump, or that could go to the grow bed, or however you set up your systems. So there you have it. This is a Clarifier-biofilter. Feel free to leave some comments if you have any questions or if you like the design.